Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your outdoorsy, agoraphobic hosts. Joining me as always is our other outdoorsy and agoraphobic host, Beth Martin. Beth, the pleasure as always. What's the crack?
Hi, Andy. Remind me what agoraphobic means. That means fear of public places?
Fear of public places and going outside
Do
generally.
you have that fear?
That's
Or is
a
it
good question.
situational?
Situational, I'd say. I mean, generally speaking, it is like again, not to go over it all ground. I've talked to you before about my sort of social attitude or kind of mode is Ash from the Evil Dead movies.
Yes.
So
Yes.
read into that what you will.
I think I feel like I talked to you about this a little bit, but before I came to visit you, I was just so because I live in the little middle of nowhere and town is 15 minutes from our house. I was starting to realize you haven't left the house other than to go get the kids from school. You haven't driven anywhere in
Yeah, I
five
remember you saying as
days.
much.
And
Yeah,
going to the grocery store is my least favorite thing ever just because I'm around people.
yeah,
So it's always yeah, travel is good for me for that reason. Go hang
it's
out in
like
some airports and really get
yeah.
all of humanity.
Oh yeah, quite yeah. For better or for worse.
Right.
It's like going clothes shopping as well for me sometimes. I sometimes get in the mindset where I'm like, you know what, I need a new pair of whatever, and I'm quite excited about it, and that dissipates so quickly. Like minutes with it in the store, I'm just like, I hate this. There's too many people here.
I'm leaving.
I want to leave immediately. Yeah, and I have often ended up buying things just quickly because I'm like, I need a pair, and you need a new pair of jeans or whatever. These are fine.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Good enough. Good
You
enough.
know.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hate the shopping. So I don't have the movie pass that you have. So to go see a movie here for the kids and I, it's $40 American. And then they're like, I
Nice.
want popcorn. And I'm like, and now it's they serve food in theaters here. So beer and
Yeah.
wine and so it's French fries and popcorn and all the things. So but we went and saw the movie
Oh.
IF.
Oh yeah.
If.
How was
It
it?
was so I cried.
Okay.
It was really sweet. And so but what was funny to me there's this little part of I promise I have a purpose for what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
I'm going from a children's movie to Deadpool 2, but there's this part of Deadpool 2 where he puts together his group of
Squad.
superheroes, right? And then
Yeah.
they all jump off the back of the plane, and then each of them except for the lucky
Donna.
lady that
Yeah.
right dies a horrible death, and one of them his superpower is invisibility, and so but he lands on an electrical wire and you see him for 3 seconds, and it's
Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And I read a thing about how they asked him to wouldn't it be funny if you were just it literally you had no lines and you barely appeared, you're in it for 3 seconds, and he's like, that's so
Yeah.
funny, I'll do it for a cup of coffee. So it's then in this imaginary friends movie for children, there's an imaginary friend that's invisible. And so
Nice.
they're always tripping over him and Keith, didn't know you were right there again, Keith, as they fall over. And then at the credits, it's an introducing Brad Pitt as Keith.
Nice. I love it.
So I'm totally in on these superstar celebrity Hollywood jokes now, apparently.
Just them showing up in the background
Yes.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the stuff
They
I
are
live
great.
for.
Yeah. I do quite like that as a joke, as
Yep.
being somebody cool and important turning up and then just being completely ignored.
Yes,
It's
yes.
always a good bit.
Yes. So
I love it.
yeah.
How was the movie generally though? I'm hearing mixed things about it.
I actually really I'm a critic typically,
Mhm.
but I really liked it. I really liked it.
Okay, good.
It was sweet. It the pace I think is I think so many people are used to the Marvel movie pace right now.
Yeah.
And it's do 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 and action, and this was not.
Yeah.
This was very character based. The pace was, slow. There are things you need to figure out through the movie. And like the overall meaning behind the movie is basically like, don't forget to be, don't like, you don't need to grow up. You can still have fun and be a
Yeah.
kid. And like, you still need your imaginary friends, right? Even as an
Yeah.
adult, even if they're just like there with you being like, everything's going to be okay. And
Yeah.
so I'm like
Hell
crying
yeah.
as all these adults are like reconnecting with their imaginary friends and like realizing that like A, they do need them, and B, like everything is going to be okay. And it's like, I guess you don't hear that enough as an adult anymore. Like I'm getting,
Yeah.
sorry,
Sure.
I'm dropping into the deepness of this, but we don't hear everything is going to be okay. And there's
Yeah.
no one really like that's like there with us all the time. Like, our parents were when we were little. And so I think that it is a message that like I like hearing as much as possible.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you on
Yeah.
that
So
for
I may
sure.
demand occasionally that you tell me that everything's going to be okay, Andy. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do I have to sound believable when I'm doing
No.
it? Okay. All right. Phew. Okay. Only some days I'll be able to do it believably, but
Right.
I'll try. I'll always try my best.
Yeah. So
Um,
what's the crack with you?
yeah. So, my tongue's mostly all healed up. Everybody will be delighted to know. Um, that's the number one good thing. I had a fairly relatively quiet weekend. Like I had a busy weekend last week, so I kind of needed a bit of recovery time. But I think I've talked a little bit before about struggling with downtime a little bit, so
Yeah.
it was kind of ropey. I should reveal because I've talked about it a little bit in the podcast. Like I had stopped smoking weed about 6-7 weeks ago. Somebody gave me a little for my birthday. I didn't say no, and I tried it again and regretted it immediately. So I think I needed that very slight relapse to be like, you know what? I need to cut this out properly for like an extremely long period of time at a minimum and just see where I'm at without it in my life and kind of go from there. But it's been instructive.
Do you want to explain a little bit about what it does to you and why it's affecting you adversely?
Yeah. I think that and I think I've talked about it a little bit before, is
You
that I
have.
think it excels. It's a flip of the coin, and I think that's why I kind of kept using it as a crutch for so long, because sometimes it would allow me to completely disconnect and relax in a way that I struggle to do just by myself with like my own internal resources. But other times it makes me very paranoid and very kind of just stressing out a lot about it. I mean, I think the way I've described it in the past is that like oftentimes it will conjure up a memory, maybe not a memory, but a situation that I was pretty set that I had resolved, that I had kind of moved past, and go, is this really resolved? Do you think? Should we maybe like unpack this and think about it a little bit more in kind of quite damaging ways? And I feel like the impacts of it were like, far reaching, as in it wouldn't just be when I took it, it would be for days afterwards. And like I certainly noticed that over this past weekend. So it's good. It's good to see. It's good to see such a. I mean, who knows? The whole sort of causation correlation thing. I don't know for sure if it's directly connected, but I think it's definitely wise seeing like depressive episodes happen so closely to me using it a few times again recently. It's pretty clear to me that it is certainly not helping. So
That it might play a little bit of a part in the exacerbation
very much so.
of extreme
So
rumination.
uh-huh. And I'm good at that, or terrible for that anyway. So like I don't need an extra a helping hand in that area. So yeah, it was good to know, but it's good to kind of like see that. I think in a way I'm kind of glad I had this, because I think it has just shown me even more that I need to take that a long step back from it at a minimum. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just it's interesting, just being with you as you're sort of working through your mental health journey and like figuring out the aspects of depression, and like knowing that that it's good for your brain to be busy, and yeah, that
Yep.
this is now a new piece that maybe doesn't work with you right now. So
Yeah,
those are two really big things.
it is.
And like
I
I'm
agree.
the kind of person I need to learn the lesson at least 10 times before I'm like, oh, that's the lesson.
I think most people do, and most people like are taught a lesson many, many, many times, but never actually walk away having learned anything. You know,
Right.
so I think it's good. I think so we'll see where we go from here. The flip side to that was that it gave me the peace of mind to. I was like, I was like, I want to watch a classic movie. I want to watch something I haven't watched before. I was considering Sorcerer because I've always wanted to watch it and I've never. So it's the Roy Snyder one about transporting explosives in like South America. It's supposed to be incredible,
Okay.
and
What's it called?
I will watch it. Sorcerer,
Sorcerer.
Sorcerer, and I say Rob Snyder, Roy Snyder, and anyway, but instead I pivoted to Roadhouse, the
Yes,
original.
the original. I watched that not too long. I love me some Patrick Swayze.
So great. I haven't seen him in a ton of things. Like I've some stuff from back then, but like I'm just not as familiar with him as other stars of that era. Really, like obviously I know him, but like it's just not. I haven't seen a ton of movies with him in it, but he was great and he's so good in it, and it's like so funny. And like I was texting my friend about it as I was watching it, being like, you know, well, how do I get his job for a start? I just love conceptually that he is like almost like a renowned bouncer across the US. Everybody like knows his name, and I'm like, is this happen? Or I was even like halfway through the movie texting my buddy and was like, I'm starting to think that this like prominent businessman isn't such a great guy. So it was good fun. And like the other thing you forget, and like it's only when you watch a movie from the 80s, is like how like much casual nudity and stuff there is just littered throughout. Just like even like Swayze's butt, and at the end, like you see him running and like they're skinny dipping at the end, and you can like see his junk. It's like, what's going on? But like boobs everywhere.
Yeah.
I was also really thrilled. There's like a wrestler called like a really kind of old school hardcore wrestler called Terry Funk. Who
I
I
don't
don't know if you know who that
remember.
is.
I don't remember Terry Funk.
So
I
it was really exciting to
just
see him
started
in it as
watching
well.
Iron Claw though.
Oh yeah, that's grim.
Yeah.
It's a good. I found the pace in that movie a bit hard going, and I kind of knew the story a little, so it was kind of like there was no real kind of surprises. But that's a tough watch.
Yeah, that's what I heard. But I've liked Jeremy Allen White, so
Yeah, and also Zac Efron's fantastic in it as well. I think.
he doesn't even.
Is it Efron?
Yeah, Efron. He doesn't look like himself. I'm sorry, I just hijacked you,
No,
but like he is so roided out, and like
he is.
he really went all in for that role.
His body's insane.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those. It's and I think it's something I thought in terms of like the shape that like actors have to get into for some roles these days. I'm always kind of like that. This is not.
Mm-hmm.
This must be decimating
Like,
to your body, like to try to
yes, it has to be.
maintain that shape.
It has
There's
to
a
be.
guy. There's a guy Frank Grillo, and he did a movie I watched a couple of years ago, and he was just like he was supposed to be like a bodyguard or a soldier or whatever, and like that guy's 50, and he had like an 8-pack, and I'm like, dude, you didn't need to go this hard for this movie. It's not like you're a superhero. You're just like a soldier. It's not. But yeah,
They probably like didn't actually write in like him taking his shirt off,
No.
but he's probably like, "But I'm working with this."
but like it's like even like Camille Nanjiani for like Eternals like got like super shredded.
I saw
And,
that.
like you barely saw his arms.
I know.
You know?
And the movie was panned, and he was like really disappointed because he got
He was.
he's super buff. I know. I adore him. He was good in Frozen Empire, the Ghostbusters movie.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He was. I agree. I thought his scene with Bill Murray was like the best thing in the movie
Same.
for me.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I kind of want to move on, but like I want to also touch on just this past weekend, and I mentioned it to Beth before the podcast. So in Carrickfergus, we had King Billy Festival this past weekend, and for those of you that don't understand, so like you may have a vague understanding of the like Protestantism versus Catholicism thing in Ireland, and King Billy is like a really totemic figure for Protestants, and his boat there was a very famous battle, and his boat landed in Carrickfergus. So I don't know if the celebration happens yearly. I don't know that I've ever noticed it in such a big scale, but essentially shut the whole town down. 5,000 people showed up, and it was a shit show and a complete nightmare. But unless you're like a King Billy guy, I guess.
So were they celebrating like
case,
the day he landed, or like his birthday?
I think so. I think it's the day he landed.
Okay.
I think it is. Yeah. But like again, I am extremely ignorant about this side of things, and
you were like, how would I even know this would be happening?
Yeah,
I've never heard
about
this.
Why would I care?
Why would I care?
Like I've told you before about like one of my like, so there's like there's songs that go with sort of both sort of sides of the conflict, and some of them are like fairly, trying to choose a careful word for this, but they're inflammatory, I guess, right? Yes. And there's a Protestant one, and my Catholic friend had to like teach me how to sing it because I didn't know, because I don't I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to know these like inflammatory songs, really. Like it's not me, So, but yeah, that's what's the crack with me this week. Do we have any occurrence?
Just a lot of people had feedback on the fact that you guys don't wear sunscreen.
That's because we just
because you're so tough and hard, yeah. So people in like warmer places were like,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to be flexing for the next 6 months.
Yeah,
we definitely like, they don't have to worry about the ozone layer.
Yeah, we definitely don't just like go pink and then aggressively red very quickly or anything like that. Right.
That I've seen like before my eyes, and I'm like worried.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm so much better for it these days though. Like I normally at least put some on in preparation for, if I know I'm going to be out all day.
That's smart. Good for you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Using that big old brain of yours.
Finally, years later, I figure it out.
So, yeah. Do you have any occurring?
I don't think so. Okay. No, I don't believe so. No, not currently.
Okay. Do you want to talk about our topic of the day?
Yeah. So I guess I think that I have like summer in the mind, and like kind of summary. So I'm thinking about summary topics, which is why I suggested this. And also like it just came to me in a flash because somebody had asked me to do this recently, and I know that you had talked about doing it. You had been away, and I feel like we have very sort of differing opinions on it. So our subject today is camping, like being outdoors. Specifically camping is what I'm thinking about here. And our episode today is called The Camper's Handbook. Because everything you could possibly need to know about camping will unfold before your ears.
Until we start talking about Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. For like a good 15 minutes.
Right. So what is your definition of camping?
So,
in your country?
I guess probably going out to the wilds, I guess. I mean, there's not tons of wilds here because it's not that big a country, but like going out to a forest or going out to, some of the more mountainous areas and, setting up a tent and staying overnight and maybe like hiking a little bit, that sort of thing would be what I would think of would be camping. What about you?
I think it's largely the same. I think there are various types of camping, like I think car camping counts as camping. Obviously like
which I've definitely done.
And like a camper or caravan counts as camping. Like basically like anytime you're sleeping out of your house and you're not in a hotel.
Yeah.
So
yes.
But I'm going to reach back into my mind garden to tell you about the history of recreational camping.
Oh, hell yeah, okay.
So it's often traced back to Thomas Hiram Holding, and he's a British traveling tailor in the early early 1900s, late 1800s. Okay. So basically he was like camping down by the River Thames, and everyone's like, this is a cool thing. Let's start a club. Because we're British and that's what we do. And so that turned into like, it was like pleasure boating, but it was like a big Victorian craze of like camping and also like boating at the same time on the river that everyone's like peeing in. Yay, let's swim. Sorry. So he was basically like responsible for popularizing this lifestyle where you don't actually need to live in a camper or a caravan or a tent, but to get out and do it for fun and travel around. And then he actually, because for some reason all things end and begin in Ireland, much to my chagrin, right?
Yeah.
But he embarked on a cycling and camping tour with some friends in Ireland, and he wrote a book of his Irish experiences called Cycle and Camp in Connemara, if I'm saying that correctly. And then they formed a camping group. Basically, like, that's actually, like, it's not just, like, pleasure boating and sleeping next to the river. Like, it's a group of people that were all, like, took over a forest and camped. And so that was in 1901 in Ireland, and they called themselves the Association of Cycle Campers and like caravanning club. So it all comes back to you.
I mean, doesn't it all?
I was like reading it and I'm like, really?
Ireland again. They always come back.
We had prairies and like the Oregon Trail, but
it kind of, because as you were talking about it there, I was like, I suppose that is the recreational aspect of it is such a big component of it, I think, when we think about it, in modern times, because, obviously tents were used throughout the ages, and for like, you're right, whenever they were, people were expanding across the Americas and stuff like that, there would have been camping all the time, but it would have not been for fun. Right. It would have been out of necessity, and this is what we have.
This is how we live, right?
Yeah. But camping is very much let's probably get outdoors, let's maybe get back in touch with nature. Like, and even when I was thinking about it, I was also like thinking about, like, would festival camping count?
I totally wrote that down. Festival camping. Yes, it totally does.
And I think it does, and it's funny because I thought about, and we'll maybe like, we'll get into this stuff in more depth, but I kind of, think I'm more favorable towards festival camping because there's something, maybe it's just, there's activities that I can enjoy more.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting one, And also, the other thing I was going to ask you was, just in more general terms before we get into this a bit more, is that do you have glamping?
I would say I glamp, yes.
Okay.
Not because I'm a glamper, but because my husband is a glamper. So like when I go camp, like if I was to go camping by myself, I would bring a tent, a stove, a chair, a bed, like maybe not even a chair. Yeah. I probably would sleep in the car.
Yeah.
Mike, I can't even tell you, like we went camping a couple weeks ago, and it was like, he was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit all this stuff in the truck. So it's like, we put up a shade structure. It's like, he's ready for all things. We've got an impact drill to get the like 1.5 foot stakes into the ground so that the thing doesn't blow away. We've got 2 different types of stoves, one for water boiling, right? And like,
wow.
And then the actual like cooking stove for like barbecuing and like cooking meats. We have a fold out table, condiments. We have bins, one that has food, one that, I mean, like I could go on and on and on, to the point where we have a tablecloth that he puts on the table, and then he has little tablecloth clippies that like go over the picnic table.
Amazing.
Music.
So good.
And the final finish, Christmas lights.
You told me about the Christmas lights. I love that. So, like, I guess the thing then, generally speaking, my question would be,
the kids have bunk beds.
Wow, really?
Yes. So we basically like create a little.
I have to see this setup.
Fucking insanity.
Yeah,
it's insanity.
It's amazing, like,
yeah.
Because like, and I wonder if it's because of this, because my general thought on this is just in terms of us talking about it, is that I think you enjoy camping for the most part. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and I would say I don't enjoy it for the most part.
I would say that's because you haven't camped with Mike.
Yeah, I mean, like, that sounds, if I was camping with Mike, that sounds awesome. Yeah. I would love that. Yeah, very much so. I like, and I can do it, and I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, like if I'm on, depends who I'm with, but like by and large, I'm seen as like one of the better prepared people because I like just tend to like, I'm thinking about, you know, so like if I bring a selection of snacks, I like bring snacks if my vegan friends are there that they can have them, things like that. I'm thinking about the people I'm gonna be with, you know, um, and even at that, I'm like, it's all to me. It's all to do with sleeping more than anything else. And I sleep so terribly in a tent, and I sleep poorly anyway, but especially badly in a tent. And then it's especially if it's like, you know, something that's slightly more intensive that's involving a fair bit of hiking. It's brutal on me because I just have zero energy and zero will to like explore, and it kind of saps, and I do love nature, but it saps my love of nature a little bit whenever I'm just like so depleted, you know, for the following day, really, you know.
Yeah. That's, I would say, I think we both, because we both have sleep issues, like that's
Yeah,
always a stressful thing. It's like, how am I going to
yeah,
sleep tonight? Is it going to be too hot in the day to take a nap if I need it? Like here, that's an issue.
yeah.
And like, yeah, if I don't, so basically like Mike calls it the Princess Palace. We have this huge, it's called a Kodiak tent, and it's for like what
Uh-huh.
people use in like the Yukon for like, I don't know, moose hunting or something. It's
Okay.
they're really sturdy, and you can stand up in them. It's not like, so we can fit
Oh yeah.
two adult beds, and a bunk bed in this tent with like space to move around because we have the big version,
Yeah.
and it's really nice. So we've got
Yeah.
cots that have mattress pads on top, and then like sleeping bags, and then we bring our pillows from home because they're comfortable, and like
Mm-hmm.
that's, yeah. So that's how we do it. And I will say, like, if it's not too windy or there's not like bass playing the evil heartbeat in the background, and I'm not at a festival, like I
Yeah.
will sleep
I think
if I drink
like I
enough and
mean,
take Ambien.
yeah, well,
Don't try
this
this at
like,
home, kids.
I think that is like my the secret of, well, it's sort of the secret of my success at festivals. Festivals you're kind of fueled by the energy anyway, but like I think because I tend to be drinking at those things, that puts me out a little bit, which is handy. But you know,
Yeah,
well, for better or for worse. But
right.
yeah, like, and I think that like um I like, yeah, I think that's a big part of it as well. It's like especially when it has been raining and you're there for a big chunk of time, and it's like I'm wet, I cannot get dry, but I am going from a wet place. I'm bringing my wet stuff into another wet place. All my clothes that are wet, I have no real mission of drying them anytime soon. It's just a fucking nightmare, you know. So I think that like it's best. Well, I mean, like I'm sure there's other places that are worse in the world, but like, you know, here because the weather is so, you know, random, it's so hard to predict. It's there's, you have to prepare for all things, and that's an absolute shit show. I saw my friend. I was having a conversation with my friend in Japan the other day, and she sent me a video because we were talking about she you know, she loves it here, and she sent me a video of a guy on the phone, and he was Irish, and he was having a conversation with a friend, and the friend was going like, you know, I'm thinking about, and he goes, oh, you're thinking about coming to Ireland, are you? So, well, you know, April to June, dodgy. Not too sure. You don't want to come January to February. It's far too dark. Then, you know, and he's just going through all the months and going, yeah. He goes, just pick a month. We'll come and we'll see how it goes. December. Not December. Definitely not December. Like that's such an Irish thing. It's like it's impossible to say you will get good weather if you come at this certain amount of time. It's you know, I'm so pleased that you got like such a beautiful week when you were here, you know, because it's such a roll of the dice.
I remember
Um,
camping in Oregon before we moved here, and it was like August. Same type of thing. We're like, let's
yeah.
go camp by the coast. It'll be super fun. Brought everything, and it was like 45 degrees. And then that night it poured to the point where like people woke up and like they were like in water.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
it was just like we packed up and left. It was like, it was with
Yeah, there's no
kids. There
point.
was just, yeah, no one's going to enjoy that. So it's supposed to be
No.
fun. It's supposed to be fun.
Yes.
And like
This
I'm
is
not
it.
there. I will say, like, you know, there are extreme campers here who will like, backpack all their stuff, hike the Pacific Crest Trail. Like there are like mountain climbers that will like be climbing a mountain and then will like ratchet themselves to the side of the mountain. Have you seen
I've
those?
seen this.
And like sleep literally on a little like net platform thingy that they build and like poop over the side, right? Because they're so high up and I can't even like. So, there's a broad spectrum.
There is
to camping.
And this is the thing,
yes.
and like in terms of like having a general opinion of it, and and like as I say, and when I think about like festival camping, I kind of have a more favorable opinion, and and the other thing, and it was well, getting an interesting subject here, but we're talking about I was listening to another podcast I enjoy. It's about fast food a lot, and they were talking about how like whenever you're like under 30. You don't really worry about shitting, whereas after 30, you like it's just a whole thing,
right?
And it's like it's another, and that becomes an extra degree of increased difficulty whenever you're out camping as well, because it's like where, how,
yes.
it's a nightmare.
Yes.
So yeah. It's such a funny. Such a funny and relatable subject, and like one of the hosts was talking about how like when he travels he has to like take fiber supplements just to make sure he's regular and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like, oh man.
No, it's like you take fiber supplements, you take Imodium, you bring like Pepto-Bismol, extra toilet paper. Like you and I are both on the take like travel toilet paper.
Yeah.
Always.
I have learned the hard way to always at least have like a wee packet of like travel tissues with me, because I've had, especially Korea was such a kind of wake up call to me, because the amount of toilets that had no toilet paper at all, and I'd also like like an idiot kept like smashing my head against the wall in terms of trying a food, and like it really hit my stomach.
You're like, oh,
hard.
street food.
Like, and then I'd be like, maybe it was just that street food. I'll try this next one, and then wah, fucking oh no, my stomach, there's like it's knives in my stomach.
That was me in Taiwan. I was like, street food for breakfast, great idea, right? Not even at the end of the day, like start the day there. And it was like the best food I've ever eaten. And I was just like, we gotta like make stops along the way. I'm like, let's go to the Taiwanese museum. I really want to see it, but I actually have to take a shit.
Yeah. Getting old.
I know. Well, I would also say it's like, I think it's like there's also a period of time, I think between like 7 and maybe like, I don't know if it ever ends really, where like poop is just interesting and funny.
Yeah. It's true. And like it's such a kind of funny subject, because it's like it is difficult to have a conversation with people about it, but there's like I remember like how good my shitting was whenever we did our yoga teacher training, and I like almost wanted to tell people about it. But I'm like, I don't really know these people.
You're like,
in a
I'm
way
shitting.
That I want to be like,
I'm having the best shits of my life.
Yeah. And it's like, hey everybody, come look at this photo, which I would not do. That's probably.
I gave Harper got one of those like Polaroid cameras. And she's been like running around like taking photos of everything, and then she was like, Mom, check this out, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, is this a turd in a toilet? She's like, yes, look at it, it's a perfect shaped turd. I took a picture.
She realized that's
I know.
awesome.
So I hid it behind her school photo on the bookshelf, because like you don't get rid of something like that, right?
No, absolutely.
And occasionally,
not.
like I'll be dusting, and like I'll take it down and be like, "What is? Oh fuck! It's the fucking turd in the toilet."
It's so funny.
Anyways, camping.
Camping, yeah. It probably lost listeners. Is fine. It's relatable. You like it.
I know. Actually, like so for tent camping without bathrooms, we have just like a bucket, but you can get these little like lids that are like little tiny toilet lids, so you can shit and pee in the bucket, right? If you're a lady or a gentleman and you like sitting to pee.
Oh, that's great.
And then bag it and take it out if you need to, or, you know,
Yeah.
dig a hole and bury it. But I remember we were camping. So here in the States, like, it's called the Bureau of Land Management, where the government owns, like, and takes care of big parcels of land, and like people are
Yes.
allowed to graze with their cattle on it, and you're actually allowed to camp there. You don't need to pay anybody or tell anybody where you are, kind of thing. So there's like this place in Oregon. It's an obsidian mound. So like it's just like obsidian pieces are just like kind of like coming up.
Cool.
Yeah. So I have some really big pieces of obsidian from this place, but like I remember, and there's like cattle everywhere and like beautiful views, and it's high desert camping, which I love. And I remember like waking up one morning, there's literally no one around but me and the cows. Mike's still sleeping, and I'm like peeing in my little bucket, and like I have the most beautiful view ever. And I was just like, this is nice. This is where it's at.
Yeah, that's just this is the way to be.
Yeah.
I the last one, and this is I don't know why I'm listening to podcasts where they're talking about shit all the time. But there you go. But like another one, I don't know how it came up, but they were talking about apparently Frank Lloyd Wright is the first person to implement panels between stalls in toilets. And I'm like, wow. And they were like, you know, he should get, obviously he is a, you know, incredible architect, you know, world renowned architect, but he should probably get more credit
Like
for his innovations.
the Nobel
in
Peace
toilets.
Prize or something.
Right? Because prior to that, it was just apparently toilets set beside each other. So you'd be like, you know, you could reach out and hold hands with the person that was.
Or like the pee trough.
Yeah. Oh, God. Okay, you know what? I'm going to move on because this is remind me of something, and I'll just end up talking.
I have
about
like
shit and
3
piss for the
other
rest of the
gross
episode.
stories that no one needs to hear. Yeah.
We'll save it for our shit and piss episode.
Pee pee poo
I
poo.
guess. Yeah, pee pee poo poo episode. Yeah. So one of the things, and I would want to get your opinion on this. So we have glamping over here, but it's people do like glamping pods where it's like a structure. I guess a temporary structure, so I don't know whether it counts, and it's kind of see-through, and you kind of sleep in this bed, and you can see the stars and everything, and they're called glamping pods. Do you think that counts as camping?
I do. I think, yeah, we have like yurts. Do you know what a yurt?
Yeah.
So we have like, I remember we stayed in a yurt in Yosemite in January, and the heater didn't work, and I was like, this is fucking camping. So yeah, I think anytime like there's a possibility of being cold.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
And if you're in a sleeping bag, like, yes, I definitely that's,
I think, yeah.
Are they like structures?
Kind of, but they're kind of like plastic, and they're, you know, they're like, I think they also, I don't know whether they have facilities in them. I really can't remember.
Okay.
But there might be like, you know, like, you know, the way like sometimes you'll get trailer park kind of places that also have like a block that has some toilets and stuff in it and a shower and whatever. I think maybe like that, but I'm honestly not too sure. Probably, I think you pay big money for these things, so they probably do have facilities of their own.
Yeah, and like, do you guys have campsites where you go?
Yes, we do.
And they have like reserve spots you can reserve, and they do have facilities.
Yeah,
and all that, and like,
because when I was like, what was that over the pandemic? Sasha and I went down west coast of Ireland for a little bit, and I was planning to stay in campsites, but they were all booked up, you know, months in advance. So over the summer in particular, you know.
Is it like I know it's not your favorite thing, but like for other people, is it a big thing to go camping?
That's a good question. I don't think it's quite as popular as, again, just because of the weather and the unpredictable nature of it. I do know people that go and people that enjoy it. And I say one of my good friends asked me recently if I wanted to go, and I was just like, no. I just made a face. So mature, you know. So I think that probably caravans are more popular here, you know, like either renting them or having a caravan of your own and like taking it somewhere. So Whereas there are campsites, I would say probably caravan parks are probably more prominent, and we have more of them. You know.
That makes sense. So here, like Mike tried to get a campsite around us, maybe like an hour drive. He looked between now and like November, and there's not a single availability.
Wild.
Yeah. So it's like, I forget the date. It might even be January 1st, like when the state opens the state campsite. Like you've got to be ready and know exactly when you want to camp, where, and how many people are going, and like, because it is hard. I mean, you can go to Death Valley and camp just fine, but like not really. Like the place that we just went, they close May 31st because it just it gets too hot.
It's too hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You'll like cook.
Is there like, can people wild camp easily? I'm sure that's probably differs from state to state, but do you know in California if people just pitch a tent in a forest somewhere, is that legal, or is there?
It's legal. I think here you will always want to tell people, like, there's a whole community of like hikers and campers. There's this huge subculture where a lot of times they have like trail names that you're given a trail name. You don't, like, you've got to earn your trail name basically. And you'll see people along the way, and it's definitely I actually just watched a documentary about this guy that they found, and he was dead. Sorry. And but it was like he was a hiker and a backpacker, and was like hiking through the woods, and met people along the way, and then they ended up finding him passed away, but no one actually, they couldn't figure out who he was, because sorry, my phone is ringing. I have a landline now, and now it rings. It's so weird.
Oh yeah, you told me. Yeah.
So apologies if you can hear that, but no one knew who he was because he'd only given his trail name. So like
I think this sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, there's a documentary that it came out maybe like 2 weeks ago. It was interesting. But come to find out, like, I think he had some skeletons in his closet and basically just decided to end his life. I forgot your question. I just went down a super big rabbit hole.
I know I was talking about wild camping.
Oh yes, yes.
And its legality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, that definitely does happen. The legality of it, basically, like, if you get into trouble, the state pays to come and find you and rescue you, and that's just yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, like, I know it's like,
did you see 127 hours or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely that is a huge subculture.
I think, yeah, like, that's always one of those things where it's like, I don't know, that it was such an interesting movie, and that, that subject, because it's like, it's such a dangerous thing to kind of go off by yourself. It is.
It is. And like, I took
adventures.
you hiking in the Columbia Gorge when you came and visited me in Oregon, and people die up there every year.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, that mountain I hiked Mount Baldy whenever I was in, and then like Julian Sands, the actor, died up there
last winter.
Last year, I think. Yeah, last winter. Yeah. And like, I mean, that was an intense hike, but it was cool. It was fun. It was such a like incredible view as well. Like, I think we were like 10,000 feet up, I think, and when we reached the summit of that place. Like, we didn't hike 10,000 feet. I think we only hiked. Yeah. Very much so. But I think we did ascend 4,000 feet, I think, which is enough.
That's enough. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, that's enough.
That's a lot. Don't even get me started on Mount Everest.
No.
And how I don't agree with people going up to a place that has something called the death zone.
Yeah.
Andy.
Like, how much, I hear you. I think that, hearing that, like, essentially, like, if you are taking that trip, you are walking past corpses and things like that. And it's like,
Literally.
that's
You have a 50-50 chance of
not
coming back.
great. Yeah.
And people are
And
like, yeah, I'll sign up for that. Good idea.
I like, it seems like there's a lot of people who just literally aren't prepared for it either, or just kind of like, oh, okay. Whereas it's like, you need to be in tip-top condition to really even be considering it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't, it's that sort of drive to be like, I want to climb the highest mountain. I want to, swim in the deepest sea. I just don't care about those things
Yeah.
at all, really.
Yeah.
I don't understand that impetuous, really.
No. I just want to be mediocre.
Yeah, comfortably mediocre. Just find my groove.
Yep.
Slide through it.
Yep. So
but yeah, no.
go ahead.
I was going to say, so just because like I know, before we move on from wild camping, it's you have to have permission from a landowner.
That was my question.
To wild camp, technically, but like certainly whenever we did it before in like a forest park, we, you have to like you go through and they're like, are you going to camp? And you have to be no. And you just park
as
the car
you're like
and you leave there and,
carrying your tent.
Yeah. As he sees all his equipment in the back seat of the car, no, I'm not camping, sir. And you can kind of get away with it, but like it's kind of frowned upon. And I think just from the dangerous points of view, it's like I guess they're liable for you to a certain extent if something happens to you on within their forest or within their piece of land, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, here you can't really like sue the government if you hurt yourself on a hike,
Oh wow, interesting.
I mean,
yeah,
maybe you could try, but yeah, it's like
that's it's not gonna wash.
I'm sure there's something along the lines of like, you do this at your own risk.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna?
Well,
say?
I was just gonna ask, like, did you go camping as a child?
Not really. No.
Okay. Like when?
And I wasn't.
When was your first camping trip?
Oof, that's a good question. I think probably the first time I camped was at a music festival.
Okay.
So like when I would have been 18 or 19, I remember going to
So
one.
you made the choice.
Yeah.
To camp or not to camp. To camp or not to camp.
Like it is a very like it is a an insane time in those festival. Like I remember being there with friends.
Tell me a little bit about like what that is like festival camping for you guys.
Like it differs festival to festival, of course, but like the really intense big festivals is like a fucking war zone. Like it's like there is people playing music, just at their tents with like boom boxes or whatever back in the day. At like fucking 4 a.m. and there's people like on things all night long. It's like a hive of activity. I remember clearly being in my tent and hearing somebody piss against the side of my tent and things like that. It's just a shit show. Like, and I, in other more civilized festivals I've been to in recent years are definitely better than that. But like, and I still remember it so clearly. Like, one of those festivals, there was a lot of rain and it was very, very muddy. And I'd taken wellies with me. Sorry, Wellington boots.
Rain boots.
Rain boots, yeah.
Yep.
And I had like these pair of combats tucked into my wellies, and I was walking about, and I was very pleased I had them because it was a fucking nightmare. Like, and we were all so muddy and dirty. Like, it was just so gross. And somebody called me a country cunt, which for the look that I was sporting, which I still remember, and it still made me laugh because I was wearing like the wellies, the combats, like, who knows what fucking random t-shirt I had on, and I was wearing my Stone Cold Steve Austin camo baseball cap. Like, hell yeah. So I'm like, yeah, fair cop. It's a fair cop. I'm a bit of a country cunt at the minute. But yeah, so like that's what I think of with festival camp, and it is kind of. I don't think I would ever want to do that sort of intensity again. Though, having said that, I'm circling Glastonbury at some point. But like
when is that?
It wouldn't be this year, but like it's happening in a few weeks from now.
Okay.
But I've got friends who are kind of starting to go quasi regularly, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I might tag along with them some year. We'll see how it goes. It's hard to get tickets, so who knows?
I understand. Maybe I'll go too.
Yeah. But that's kind of my experience with festival camp, and you've been to festivals as well, right? Were they
Yeah.
similar?
I would say so. I think it's like, they give you there's like an area where you can camp, and then they've got, different stages. Or I've been to like super hippie ones too, where there's like
Yeah.
a lake, and there's
Nice.
one stage, and it's like um Olden in the Gray, which is like part of the Grateful Dead. It's like their like spin-off band.
Okay.
So I saw them, and that was really like my best friend took me. It's this little like place called Horning's Hideout. Some people may know what that is. But it was like it was just sweet and great, and like there were like vendors that were charging like normal prices, and everyone's like sharing food
Nice.
and drinks. And then I've been to ones that, it's like you're camping with like 50,000 other people.
Yeah.
There's a giant stage, but there's like their main stage, but there's like, 26 or to that's a very specific number. There's 41 bands playing over like 3 days or something. And you just kind of have to pick like the thing you want to see the most, and you're running from one
Yeah.
thing to the next, and a beer is like $30, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's fun in its own right. And then I've been to like Burning Man, which is like you buy a ticket that says I agree that I might die at this event, and and they're not liable. So
Love it.
where you like go in a porta potty to take a break from the windstorm and this dust everywhere, so you can like take your masks off and breathe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It has reminded me of something else I had meant to tell you, and I literally found out about it. I think only at the weekend there. So there, the people who apparently run, there's a camp in Burning Man called Celtic Chaos. Are you aware of that?
No, maybe.
So apparently they run the Celtic Chaos camp,
Okay.
which is Irish people
Yeah.
there. They are running a festival here.
You should
And
totally
it was
go
last-
to a regional
Yeah.
event.
It was a couple of weekends ago,
Shit.
and I'm. But it seems like it's going to be a yearly thing. But I saw my friend sent me through some photos, and it's like, this looks like your vibe, and I definitely want to check it out in future years
Yeah.
because it looked like a good time.
Yeah, they do. So, different countries will do like regional events. Well, they'll actually have a regional burn. And it's the same type of thing. It's like barter system. Everything, you can't charge for anything, and everyone, hangs out and camps, and they're really fun. We used to have one or there is one in Oregon. It's called Soak.
Nice.
Yeah. And that happens every year, and like art cars and DJs, and
Love it,
they're
yeah.
really fun. They're really fun.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I think I was happy. I think I kind of got that. I scratched that itch a little bit with that Bealtaine festival I talked to you about
Yeah.
this year, and it was just a one day, and it was family friendly, but still, it was great. But I think that, this will be. I think I definitely want to like hit this thing up next year. I'll send you links for that
Okay.
actually. But yeah. Yeah. I think like, and it's such a like, radically different experience to like actually camping in nature and stuff, and it's like, and I was thinking again about how I'm more favorable to like festival camping because
You like to be busy.
yeah, it's true. I do like to be busy,
Like-
but like I do love nature as well,
Yeah.
and I love like seeing outdoors. I love exploring, so. But I think that like it's more, slightly more internalized, which is something I always kind of struggle with a little bit, Whereas there is like so much external engagement at festivals that is a useful crutch for me,
Sitting at camp for like 2 hours and having conversation is hard.
Very
It's
much so.
hard. And then,
Yeah,
it's
no,
like
very much so.
the pace, the slower pace. You really are forced to sit and have conversations with people without any distractions, without any TV, without, phones and all of that. And it's interesting because we just did 4 days with no phones and no, tablets and no nothing, and just sitting, there were like hikes and um there were like there I mean, it's California, so they ca- they call them hot springs, but they're pools that are heavily chlorinated.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but there's
Interesting.
stuff to do, and still, the pace was slow, and it was like, it was nice to have that time for sure. And it
Yeah.
also shows like the difference in the way that we live,
Yeah.
camping versus not camping.
And like, I think I could see the value, in it's like surrendering to that sort of
Yes.
feeling as well.
Yeah. You
I
kind of
think
have to.
I think you do, and I think it probably probably a lot of it speaks to like where I'm at mentally a lot of the time. But I certainly do, like, I love a bit of stillness whenever I am in the right place for it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, yeah, finding the room for that, I guess.
Yeah. But I would say, like, if I had to pick between um an event where there was like stuff to do,
Mm-hmm.
or camping, at like a campsite, they're very different.
Yeah.
And I guess I would probably pick like festival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, they're
I
fun.
think we both love activities, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I like seeing things and like seeing what people are doing and what they're creating, and like,
Yeah.
I find a lot of
Yes.
creativity is put into those, and like being able to access that and see things you've never seen before.
Agreed.
It's super fun.
It's really enriching, I think. Like, I
Yes.
just really love just, turning a corner and coming across something that I couldn't have imagined. Like, some of the early, and it's kind of changed. There was a festival in the south called Electric Picnic, and um, the early sort of versions of it, the first kind of few years, were really cool. And it was just like, you would kind of walk around a corner, and there was a guy with a big piece of wood and a chainsaw, and he was like doing chainsaw sculpting, and there was like a stage where they were doing like cookery lessons and things like that, and I was just like, wow. And it was just, for me, my only real experience with festivals had been, here's a few different music stages, and that's what you're getting. So it was just such a sort of eye opener, and and it was such a kind of artistic festival, I think, back then. And again, it has kind of changed, but it was just a very kind of enriching experience for me sort of back then, and kind of really kind of eye opening to the potential of these things.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like you're creating something out of nothing,
Yeah.
and I love that too.
Yeah.
It's like
No.
the way that something can be there, be so amazing, everyone's having an experience, and then it all like dissipates, like the
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. It is, and then it's just like, it's all gone.
Yeah.
The next
Yeah.
day. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's something quite cool about that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I think we're probably at a good point.
I think it was a fun, and it was interesting because I really didn't know the way this conversation was
I
going to go, but
know.
it's led us down some interesting avenues.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
think we
nice.
need to revisit like poo poo pee pee.
No, 100%. We need to make it like a trilogy, the poo poo pee pee trilogy, all poo poo pee pee all the time. I am so okay. So then let's get to the most dreaded part of the podcast, which is the what's been bringing you joy this week, which I'm terrified for, especially this week, because I've really struggled to get anything down. I might crib an old one.
Okay.
So what do you have
I'll
anything?
start. I do actually. So I'm June is just going to be, I'm going to complain. You'll hear me complaining a lot about I'm single
Okay.
parenting because Mike's gone for
Oh, okay.
most of the month. And I'm just trying to be more spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
And the other night, it was beautiful out. The pool was like, the sun was down. It was dark. It was like the perfect temperature. And the kids were like, "Can we go in the pool?" And I was like, "Yes." And they were like, "Can we go naked?" And I was like, "Yes." And so I like blasted The Greatest Showman We like jumped in the pool. We just put a new pool light in, so it was like all like bioluminescent looking, and like
Love
the
it.
kids were just like dying. We had the best time. It was so fun. And then the
That's
bats
awesome.
came out, and they were all like, because they eat the bugs in the evening,
Yeah.
and like dip down and get a drink of our. I'm sorry, it's like chlorinated pool water.
Oh, do they?
They do.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
So we saw the bats, and it was just like one of those moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this right. I'm living the life the right way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What sort of time does it get dark for you guys right now?
Earlier than you guys for
Yeah,
sure.
it's
Having
super
been
late for us
there,
right
I'm
now.
like, oh my god, the sun never goes down. It's like 8:30.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like about 10:30 at the minute.
Oh
It's
my god.
crazy.
Oh my god.
It's really nuts. Um,
And then
so
it comes
yeah,
up at
it
like
really is.
5 your
Yeah,
time.
I know.
4:35.
It's wild. Yeah. Okay, so like I guess, and it was one from, and I think I ended up talking about the Sympathizer last week, didn't I? I
No.
think
Yes,
so.
you
The
did.
Robert Downey
Yes,
Jr.
you did.
thing.
You
I think
did.
I did.
You
Yeah,
did.
yeah. So I'm just going to talk about a little bit. So like I was with the festival that I was at last weekend, and this was something I meant to mention last week. I was there with one of my other friends and with a group of friends that she kind of generally goes with, and I only knew a handful of them a little bit, and it was just, I don't know. I'm not always good at making friends spontaneously, but I think whenever I am introduced into a group and I'm like I've been validated by somebody, right, and they're like, this guy, it's just lovely kind of making friends in that environment, and it was really nice to kind of meet some new people and kind of like chat to them and kind of make some friends.
That's great.
I love making friends, even though I'm like too goddamn
Shoving
busy
them
all the
away at the
goddamn
same
Yeah.
time.
And I'm like, I don't I'm just like
You're like,
looking
this
at
is
them,
stressing me out, but I love it.
Yes, it is. It's like I have so many people that I want to see. I called a friend on Friday for the first time, and he just picked up and he just said, "Good grief." That was his first thing he said to me, and it was like, and I was like, "Dude," and I was like, "I know," and I was like, I think I've had your name on a piece of paper for like 8 months now that I must call you, and he's like, it's whatever, and like. So many of the friendships that I really kind of love, it's like if I don't see them for a while and then we just reconnect, it's business as usual, and I think that's really kind of magical. So yeah, so to both, I guess what's been bringing me joy is making new friends and reconnecting with old friends, which is always good.
That's fabulous. Friendship. The
It's the
best
best ship,
ship.
right? It's the ship that never sinks, as they say.
It's true. This is true.
All right. Do you want to wrap this up? With
I
any
do.
sort of-
I just want to invite people to go to bendypodcast.com. If you don't know, I mean, obviously you're listening to us right now, but we are on all platforms. If you would like to send feedback or any sort of like testimonials for why you like listening, we would love to hear from you. And I'm starting to post those on the website. And I've also posted about Andy's walk for charity dealing with cancer. So that's on the website too. If you want to donate to that, that would be great. What date is the walk?
22nd of June.
Of June.
Just 22nd
Okay,
of this
so
month.
we've got a couple more weeks to.
We do.
Yep.
We do.
So please,
and I think
please
probably
donate.
you can donate after it as well. So like,
I'll leave it up.
We'll leave it open. But like, I've got to say that I have made nearly £500 now.
Whoa! That's like double your.
I know.
That's double your goal.
Yeah, it is double my goal, so I'm really happy with that. But I think we can just keep this thing going. Let's see how high we can get it.
Yeah, this is great. So yeah.
But anyway, right, fantastic, awesome. So in that case, we would like to remind you to
stay bendy.
Yeah, it was nice.
That's good.
It was real smooth. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. We love you. Bye bye.